Hello and welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James. I am the actor.
And my name is Josh Knapp. I'm the broadcast engineer.
Here we go, Josh. Please tell everybody what's happening.
Oh, well, we're trying out another streaming/video thing, so we'll see. It seems like, with me being here and you being in Virginia, it's like it's kind of difficult to get all of the ducks in a row, all of the pieces in line for this to actually happen. But, people do it all the time. This is the problem. I'm not like super tied into TikTok or YouTube streaming or any of that stuff, and so like if that's all I did or all I like consumed all day every day, I'd be like, oh yeah, you just do this, you just do that. But like there's a part of me that's just kind of like pulling back from the social media-ness. But I think this will be fun. I think that it'll be good, and hopefully everybody will be able to experience, if they do check this out on the YouTube stream, on the YouTube video, they'll be able to experience like what we experience when we record the podcast. So that's kind of cool.
Which
so
can
get to
be
see
crazy.
my reaction to your reaction.
I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be like all serious.
You're very stoic. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm animated and I don't want to watch myself, and I'll do something
well,
like...
you don't have to watch yourself. That's for other people to do.
Sure. That's like not reading reviews.
Right.
I never read them until after the show.
So even the famous people, they probably read their reviews, yeah. But they have somebody else read their reviews, I guess. Is that what they do?
And let them know whether or not they want to read the reviews. Here's what I've heard. I've heard most people do. And I've heard, I can't remember who it was. I want to say Dolly Parton for some reason. I don't know why. She said, or somebody famous like her said, if I read them and they are bad, then I have to believe them, just like if I read them and they're good. And I go, of course, I was good. I'm good. You have to believe what the bad is too. So a lot of people don't. I can't not. I cannot do it. And, it can affect you. It can affect you. You can walk into the theater the next day and be like, I don't want to do this. But you hunker down in what you're doing and you do it. And some people like it, some people don't. It's just the way that it works. I'm not on the same level as some of these people, so I couldn't possibly understand what it would be like to be in every article on every social media platform the next day. Just because I stepped out of my balcony and was wearing my blue bathing suit instead of my purple one. So, I can't imagine. I think you're not supposed to Google yourself once you're at a certain level because it can be crazy. Yeah.
Because there's probably more bad than good, just because it's easier for people to get clicks to say bad things versus good things, or hot takes versus...
Sure.
Yeah, guess what? It was good.
Yeah, right.
So there really haven't been any movies that have come out like over the last month that I've been interested in seeing in the theater. The last movie I saw in the theater was Bullet Train. Have you seen that?
No, but I want to.
Yeah, it's fine. It is. You can't think about it too much. You just have to like go into it and just don't expect too much. But it's very. It's Brad Pitt trying to be, Brad Pitt trying to be cute Brad Pitt, I guess, where he's like an assassin. We've seen this a bunch too. Like, I'm not giving anything away by saying that it's about an assassin who's trying to turn over a new leaf and who's trying to really, goose fraba himself. He's trying to be, one with himself and be calm and move on with his life. And this is whatever, one last job where he's filling in for somebody and he gets wrapped up in this whole story. So
okay, all I thought of the whole entire time you were talking was, what is goose frawawa?
Goose fraba. Oh, it's from it's from the seminal cinematic classic Anger Management with
You're funny.
Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler. So, it's that one. That was the thing that they used to calm down. That was what Jack Nicholson told Adam Sandler to use to calm down. But either way, that's the only one I saw in the theater. But I've seen a bunch of stuff. Just like I had a week where I worked nights. So it was like Steph was working during the day and I was working at night. And so during the morning times, I would watch movies, and I got through a lot of movies, a lot of really good movies.
Yeah, you did. So, when you texted me your list, I was like, And then I realized my list is filled with stuff I've already seen like 1,000 times.
You have to work. Like I had to work at being like, so what do I watch right now? I had to be very purposeful, and it wasn't homework. Like it did not feel like homework, especially once I kind of like the first thing that like got me into it was I just bought Double Indemnity. Criterion came out with a 4K version of Double Indemnity. The Billy Wilder 1944 movie
I love it.
with Fred McMurray and Barbara Stanwyck. Essentially the first film noir movie like from Hollywood. I mean, it is right down to the voiceover. But the cool part about the voiceover in that movie, though, is that it's actually Fred McMurray talking into a dictaphone. So it's like it makes sense in the story, not that there's some disembodied person talking to the audience for no good reason. He's actually talking to somebody and we get to hear him talk to this person. So it's very well done. Obviously it's a famous movie, but that's what kind of got me into it. And then I started looking on like Criterion Channel, and they had a whole series of film noir in color, and I was like, I didn't even think about that, because when you think about film noir, you think about dark black and white, stark, light coming through the louvered blinds. You think of that, but there were a bunch of Technicolor movies that were still in that noir genre, that a lot of which I either hadn't heard of or barely heard of, and so that got me kind of into it, into those. And then staying on the noir thing, I watched Asphalt Jungle, also a John Huston movie with Sterling Hayden in it. And my first entree to Sterling Hayden was Dr. Strangelove, so every time I see him I think of Jack D. Ripper, and so it's kind of hard for me to. And then obviously The Killing, and Stanley Kubrick used him in The Killing before he used him in Dr. Strangelove. But so yeah, I don't know. Those two movies were definitely like my getting me into the noir feeling, and I kept going from there. So have you seen both of those?
I've seen Double Indemnity, yes, but I've not seen Asphalt Jungle. I have heard about it, and I want to.
Yeah, I hadn't either,
Yeah.
but it's a heist movie. It's kind of a like a heist movie, and which it's hard to not compare it to The Killing. But it's a different kind of a heist movie. There's people from different classes involved in that thing, and it's also the first quote unquote big role for Marilyn Monroe. She's in two scenes, but this was 1950, and she was starting to become like a day player on the Fox lot. Now I did do a little bit of research, and she may have gotten the role because she was going out with somebody kind of high up in the studio. But at the same time, she was decent in her two roles, in her two scenes. And she's obviously, she was obviously beautiful, and she played the kind of like beautiful, way too young for the guy who set her up in this room, set her up in this, side house thing. It was a little creepy. She kept calling him uncle, which was really creepy. Yeah, it was really creepy. And then he was like, "Don't call me uncle," and she kept calling him uncle. It was weird, but yeah, that actually was what got me into like. Now was starting to realize I haven't really seen very many Marilyn Monroe movies. I'm trying to think of the ones that I'd seen. I'd only seen Some Like It Hot. That's it. That's the only Marilyn Monroe movie I'd ever seen.
Not Bus Stop, not
No, not Monkey Business, which that
7 Year
seems like it'd be
Itch.
like right up my alley because it's
Yeah.
got Cary Grant in it.
And what's the one
So
with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon? Something
that's
like
Some
it.
Like
Oh,
It Hot.
that's Something Like
I've
It Hot.
seen that.
Right.
Yeah, no, and that because that's also Billy Wilder too. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I've definitely seen that one. But as a part of the noir in color, they had a movie from 1953 called Niagara, which was a 3-strip Technicolor movie, like real vivid colors, and it was the first starring role for Marilyn Monroe, and the film was beautiful and she was beautiful. I mean, they really took advantage of the color capabilities of Technicolor by putting her on screen. But she played a femme fatale in that one. So kind of like somebody who wants her husband to get knocked off. And so that makes it a little bit more involved and gives her more of a character than just like, I'm a dumb blonde. So that was a little bit more interesting to me. And then it was also weird because being called Niagara, it was set in Niagara Falls, which I guess, especially back then in the 1950s, was known as a destination for newlyweds. And so it felt like the movie was made by the Niagara Falls Chamber of Commerce. Like they're like, hey, we want you to go here, like go to the Maid of the Mist, which is like a boat that takes you out close to the falls. Oh, hey, go to the Horseshoe Falls. It'll take you, on this little gondola over the fall, these smaller falls. I mean, it is just like they hit all of the beats of like, oh, come up on these rocks, and there's a whole pay this to go here, pay that to go here. And it was kind of, it felt a little ham-fisted as far as like, you really need to come to Niagara Falls, while at the same time being a kind of a murder story type of a thing too. So it was an interesting, balancing act there. But
they might have been under contract to get that stuff in. It's like coming to New York and filming a movie in New York. You got to go to the Statue of Liberty. You got to go to the Empire State Building. You got to go to Radio City Hall. Have I ever told you that story about Marilyn Monroe that I heard when I was watching a documentary about her? Lee Strasberg said, big acting guru, basically. He said the two greatest American film actors were Marlon Brando. I can't say his name all of a sudden.
Brando.
Thank you, Brando. Marlon Brando. Thank you. And Marilyn Monroe. And everybody was like, wait, what? Wasn't she just this blonde? And he was like, nope, she has something that she could never get across because nobody would let her break out of her bombshell character. And they showed clips from the last movie that she was filming right before she died called Something's Gotta Give, which is ironic that it's called Something's Gotta Give. And it was a scene, if I remember correctly, and I can't really remember why the woman was estranged from her kids. The character Marilyn Monroe was playing was estranged. Something about she was lost on a desert island or something like that, but it sounds fantastical to say it. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the detail, but she had two younger children before she disappeared, and she comes back and she sees both of them at this pool. And, she's famous for that pool scene where she comes out of the pool and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And she comes around the corner and she sees her two kids for the first time in, I don't know, they were babies when she lost touch with them. And the emotion that goes over her face is unbelievable. And in that moment, I was like, well, it's not like I doubted Lee Strasberg, but my goodness, what she had inside of her versus what we got a lot. That's cool. But she really was something else. She wanted to do stage work, but she was so frightened after becoming Marilyn Monroe that she was afraid of live crowds because she was Marilyn Monroe. So she never really did stage work, but the possibilities were endless. When you see those clips from Something Gotta Give, you go, wow, she really was something. She was not just a superstar. She was an actress. And when people talk about Marilyn Monroe, you kind of wonder, she's a beautiful woman. Are they really, talking about her? Are they talking about her beauty? Or they, you can get swept away in certain qualities. But when you see that clip, you're like, there's no doubt that she was on a journey to the Oscars or fame in a different way than she had it at the time. So it's a shame that it ended so quickly for her because she was something.
Well, and it's difficult because like Marilyn Monroe, you can say that she got to where she got not solely on her acting prowess, but she was able to hone her acting craft by being in, earlier roles or by getting certain opportunities that may not have been specifically because of her acting ability at that exact moment. But what she did was she utilized those opportunities to get better at her acting craft. And I think that's the big thing, instead of resting on her laurels, which or resting on her
100% what everybody else does. But for whatever reason, she could never break out of that. Nowadays, somebody will give Paul Thomas Anderson will give somebody, Quentin Tarantino will give somebody an opportunity that you're not expecting. And then you can see another side to them. Or they go and do TV, and there's so many streaming services Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tarantino did that for John Travolta. What was the
Right.
movie he did right before Pulp Fiction? Look Who's Talking To.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that's the kind of renaissance that can be afforded to someone who, just because they don't have the right opportunities, doesn't mean they're not a good actor. So, or doesn't mean they don't have the capability of being a good actor again, or whatever. But yeah, I think that, yeah, with Marilyn Monroe, and we actually, Steph and I watched Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, which is her and Joan Russell. Joan Russell, is that right?
Don't I can't even see Marlon Brando. I can't say. I can't deal with it. I'm on camera. Be cool, Paul.
Yeah, so Jane Russell.
Jane Russell.
Her and Jane Russell, essentially play two showgirls, and Marilyn Monroe is the whole time just gunning for. This is the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend movie, which I had never seen before. The first time I'd ever heard that song was in Moulin Rouge. So it's one of those things where it's like, I want to like check that off of my list of like, I want to see this iconic scene, but I want to see it in context of the whole film too. I don't want to just like go to YouTube and watch the scene, which that scene is a great scene, and Marilyn Monroe does an amazing job in that scene. But then in the rest of the movie, like she plays a very, opportunistic person who is looking for the person who can get her, who can get her the most diamonds or the most, money, who can make her life that much more better. Nope, that's not right.
Don't ask
me. Who can
me.
make her life better.
You can say anything you want at this point, and I will believe it.
And so, but she does have a very poignant line at the end of the movie, and I'm not spoiling the movie. The movie's 70 years old, but she has a poignant line at the end of the movie, and she says, like, men don't really get looked down upon whenever they have a bunch of money and use that to get what they want. Whereas women who, are beautiful, or who are, attractive to men or to other people, are able to utilize that to get what they want. It's like she knows when she needs to turn it on and when she doesn't need to turn it on. And she's utilizing her looks in the same way that the men who she's trying to attract are utilizing their money. So it's kind of like you think I'm a dumb blonde, but I'm just letting you think that I'm a dumb blonde because I'm getting what I want.
Which is apparently how she was as an actress in her career. It's a shame that we can't just allow people to, do what they want to do. But I guess, there's a reason why she was famous blonde bombshell, and that's what we come to know. You know what I mean? But James Dean was allowed to do different things in all three of the movies that he did. He was allowed to do different emotional levels, and no one questioned it. It's amazing to me that
that's the double standard. Sure, I understand. Yeah,
that's a good double standard.
Yeah. So the last noir movie that I watched, it was also in color. It was from 1955. It's called Bad Day at Black Rock. It's a John Sturges movie. It was actually like the second movie, I think, to be in CinemaScope, like the widescreen, what we now think of as widescreen. It's the 235, like a really wide, 2.35 times wider than it is tall. So really wide. So the movie stars Spencer Tracy, Lee Marvin, Ernest Borgnine. I mean, all of them in this, and it's a really cool concept of a movie. And the less I say, the better for you who, or anybody else who may not have seen it. It's essentially just Spencer Tracy is a guy who just shows up at a town and nobody at the town wants him to be there. And that's the first like 10 minutes of the movie. And you're like, what is going on in this town? It's in Arizona, I think. Yeah, he shows up in this town in like the desert in Arizona, and like that is the setup for the movie. And it is infinitely interesting, and there's a lot of tension, and there's great performances from everybody, and it keeps you guessing. And like I said, like at some point I was kind of like, I was getting those kinds of like the feeling that we got, or the feeling that I got at least, watching Uncut Gems or even Good Time. I mean, like that kind of a like tense feeling, or Ari Aster films. It's kind of like, we know things are going on. We know that, that there's people doing things. There's people, conversing, but there's something going on in the background underneath all of this. And we're trying to like feel things out and figure out like why this ever got to the situation that we're in, or that we feel like we're in. So it's that kind of like tangible quality of like, there's something going on here. There's something funky here. I want to figure this out. So that was the feeling I got from the film. And it's got some really cool set pieces, and it also has some great interaction between Spencer Tracy, who I really haven't seen anything. I think I saw him in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner like 20 years ago or something, and I haven't seen him in anything else. So guess what? Spencer Tracy's a really great actor. So,
all three of them have Oscars. There's a reason.
Yeah, he was nominated this year for this movie, and guess who he lost to? Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah, and Marty.
Yeah,
Marty. Yeah.
Yep.
Which
so
is crazy.
It's pretty cool. But
that's really crazy. It must be really odd to be nominated in the same category as an actor you're promoting a movie with, and then the actor who you're promoting the movie with actually wins. But I think Spencer Tracy...
Ernest Borgnine was like, dude, Spencer Tracy, like everybody was kind of like, we're not worthy at Spencer Tracy for, in this movie, the actor to actor. So yeah, but then, I'm sure that Ernest Borgnine probably felt pretty good when he won the Academy Award, not because he beat Spencer Tracy, but,
Well, maybe a little. I mean, maybe not openly. So Spencer Tracy has 2 Oscars. He has a bunch of nominations, and his 2 Oscars. Yeah, so he won for Boys Town, which he's fantastic in 1939, and he won the year before. Oh, that's right. Spencer Tracy and Tom Hanks are the only 2 actors in Oscar history to have back-to-back Oscars.
Okay.
Russell Crowe should have been on that list, but for whatever reason, he did not win that year, and Denzel Washington did. And then he won for Captain's Courageous, which I've never seen. So he has back-to-back Oscars, and he has 2 back-to-back Oscars almost 20 years before Ernest won his. So I think Ernest was fine. I think he was fine. I think
he's good.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. But yeah, Bad Day at Black Rock is, I think it's still on Criterion Channel, but it is so good. That's probably the one. I mean, I'd already seen Double Indemnity, but that's probably the one that that's the one that I've been talking up to people.
You've been lit about that one since you texted me. Yeah. And I never got around to see it. I will now. I mean, I wanted to before, but I just never got around to it.
No, it's really good. Have you watched anything recently?
It's so embarrassing after you talk about all these, not embarrassing, but all these, film noir and all these old actors who are these, giants of cinema. And I'm like, I watched Captain America Civil War again, which I did. But see, I can't believe it from beginning. Okay, so here's my story. I'm sticking to it. It's 100% true. So I'm watching She-Hulk, and when it goes off one show, it will promote another show, or it will promote the next episode. But that's coming out every Thursday. So I've been watching it Thursday to Thursday. Last Thursday,
we have too.
Yeah. Yep. It's okay.
The CGI is much better than the trailer was. Yeah. So that does not bother me like I thought it would.
Yeah, I thought it would bother you too. I'm okay with it. I like the whole idea that she's able to handle things that he's not able to handle with. I like the difference. I like that she's cool and groovy. I like that they put in the idea that, well, what makes you angry? And she's like, what, are you kidding me? Walking down the street makes me angry. Just getting catcalled every day makes me angry. Having to be lower than a man in the courtroom because I'm just a woman and he's a man, that makes me angry. I've had to contain my anger my whole life. I love that. So after those episodes are over, if there's not another episode that I haven't seen, it will go to the next Marvel show that they want to promote. And Infinity War came up. And I was like, okay, sure. Then Endgame came up, and I was like, sure, okay. So I spent like a week going through all of these shows. Then Captain America Civil War, I did not pick it. It came up itself. And I was like, well, I got it now.
That's your excuse.
It's 100% the truth. Okay, 98% the truth. And then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And so I just watched back to back to back over like a 5-day period of time. These were the movies, and they're not short movies. They're long movies. And I was trying to figure out somewhere between Endgame and Guardians of the Galaxy, what is it about these movies that make them infinitely watchable for me? And I think it has to do with being comfortable. Nothing about those movies make me uncomfortable. You know, you can watch a new movie, Ari Aster, Paul Thomas Anderson, and you can be uncomfortable. But none of those movies, they actually comfort me. They actually relax me. They actually induce kind of a, I don't want to say a meditative state, but nothing can bother me. And the idea that I've seen them a million times and I can come out of them and watch whatever I want afterwards or before and stop it in the middle of it, but I didn't. I watched them from beginning to middle to end, every single one. Some might say it's a waste of time. I had a blast.
Well, but I think that's a sign of a good movie. I mean, that same thing happened, I think, both you and me when each of us separately watched Stalker.
Right.
You know, that was a 3 and a something hour movie. And I went into it knowing that like I was gonna break it up and I was gonna watch a little bit on Saturday, a little bit on Sunday. But I sat there all, you know, for the full 3.5 hours or whatever, and I let it wash over me. So it's not because it's bubblegum movie making. It's not because it's, you know, part of the, you know, our cultural zeitgeist that you're sitting there watching through it. It's because it's a cohesive story. It's because it's characters that, in the case of Infinity War and Endgame, characters that you've seen built up throughout multiple movies, and you're now watching them, a culmination of their stories. I mean, you're essentially watching a third act in those two movies, and the third act should always be the best part of the movie. So I mean, I understand that, and especially with Guardians of the Galaxy, they're kind of like that's a family type movie, even though it's an action movie. So, and I think that Volume 2, Stefan, I just rewatched Volume 2 like within the last couple of months, and I don't think it's as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but it didn't have the benefit of introducing all of these characters to you. It had to further their stories, and it had to dig into all these characters a little bit more. And I thought it did a good job. And I'm really excited to see what Volume 3 is going to look like. So, which from what I hear is supposed to be a little bit more about Rocket Raccoon, like his origin story, much like 2 was more about Star-Lord. 3 is going to be more about Rocket. So I think that'll be real interesting.
Amen.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of other movies that I've seen before, but I saw Prey, the new Predator movie. I was entertained.
So
it's a little
this
bit.
is the part where I tell you I haven't seen any Predator movies except for like Alien versus Predator. I saw that one.
Okay, so you have seen an Alien movie and a Predator movie together, but never seen a Predator movie, but you've seen all the Alien movies.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
You've never seen a Predator movie?
I know the meme where Schwarzenegger comes into a room and he's like so and so use whatever, and then they like they like do their like arm. It's supposed to be like a I don't know, like a high five, but they end up like acting like they're gonna arm wrestle, and then people do the memes where they have like two things coming together and then they put the words on their biceps. That's what I've seen.
I just don't even understand anything you just said to me on any level. No, I do.
I also know that Shane Black was in the Predator movie, the first one. The director.
Yeah.
He was an actor in that movie.
Good for him.
So, yeah, crazy.
I tell people often that you tell me things like that where you haven't seen certain movies, and it's not that we've talked about this a million times. You can't see everything. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just can't unless you're in the Matrix and they download it or upload it into you,
Yeah.
But sometimes you say you haven't seen a certain movie and it just is like, how did that go unseen? Because you're in your 30s.
I'm 40.
Oh, are you? Okay. Well,
yeah.
Okay, you look like you're in your 30s, but you're 40. So you've been through 4 decades of life, and those are prominent movies in our lexicon.
But I was 6 years old when it came out.
Well, you're 40
So, like,
now.
am I supposed to be, like, going to the movie theater at 6 years old watching predators rip people's spines out? No, probably not. And so when did it really come back? It was probably when I was like in my 20s when they started coming out with the crappier redos, and I didn't really seek those out. So I don't know.
Okay. No, I mean, you don't have to make an excuse. It just
Yeah.
seems like there are certain things that you would have seen at some point.
Okay, but
like in
sure, at
college
the
when
same
you're just
time,
watching all the things that you got from Blockbusters. It sounds like something you'd be like, okay,
yeah,
I've never
that's
seen
true.
these movies and I'm going to have a weekend of them. And
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
so I would have assumed it, like you sit around with your buddies and you watch these movies because they're just entertaining. I mean, it's not Shakespeare and it's not saving the world, but it's entertaining. And the new one it's a nice prequel, if you will. I'm not sure. I think it is a prequel because there's the Predator has different technology that looks. I'm not sure if it's a prequel, and the Predator is dressed appropriately for the environment that he goes into, or it is a prequel to everything else. It doesn't matter. It's a chase movie. It's a chase movie,
Okay.
and it's a person who isn't expected and isn't culturally allowed to be who she wants to be, and she has to be who she wants to be because the Predator is forcing her into situations, and she's the only one who can save the day. And it's interesting. It's a nice modern take on adding a different character you're not expecting to see. You're expecting Danny Glover and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those other people who've been in the Predator movies, except for that one with the Predator and Alien one has, I can't remember the actress name now. She's the lead in that one. So you get used to a certain character type, and then when they reboot it or do a prequel and the character has to rise above her own circumstances. So it was worth watching. I mean, I jumped a couple of times and I was like, no way, a couple of times. And that's what you pay for. So I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we watched, like I said, I watched Bullet Train stuff, and I watched Day Shift, the Jamie Foxx movie about vampires on Netflix. Netflix comes out with a new movie every Friday, like they just do.
Okay.
That was one of them.
Okay.
It was okay. It was fine.
It's a
Steph likes
new
vampire
movie?
movies. It's brand new.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
It's Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco, James Franco's brother.
I like him.
And it's in a world where there's vampires, and the vampires are just around, and there's a whole like sub culture of vampire hunters and it's more of like a punch the clock type of a vampire hunter thing. And Jamie Foxx is a excommunicated vampire hunter who gets brought back into the fold by none other than Snoop Dogg, who brings him back in. I can't say it with a straight face. So, who brings him back in, and they figure out how to, kill some vampires. But yeah,
So to strangely
wasn't great.
connect the dots, if they can allow Snoop Dogg to be in movies, who I love him.
No, yeah,
But they
he's not
can't
bad.
allow
Like, he's not
Marilyn
bad. It's just
Monroe
weird.
to
Yeah.
be an actress is it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's that. I mean, different times, I guess, but still, yeah. That one thing about that movie that I thought was interesting, and there's been a spate of these movies that use drone shots, and I'm not talking about like the drone shots where it's like, oh look, it's a big flyover of the city, like what a helicopter would do. No, these are like first person racing drones. They just swoop around and go crazy and can go underneath things. And one of the shots in Day Shift, somebody actually like had the drone inside the car, and they released it out through the sunroof. So I saw that those drone shots in that. And then there were also drone shots in The Gray Man. And then I heard through various people talking about Ambulance, the Michael Bay movie, that was kind of the first movie this year that really utilized drone shots. And Steph and I just watched it a couple nights ago, and boy did he. And
they got to stop. They've got to stop.
Well,
it's overused.
I think it's very
like the
trendy.
fisheye
It's
lens.
very trendy. Yes.
It's too much. And also,
Very
what
trendy.
what it is we talk about this a lot too. It pulls me out because I start to think about the drone instead of the shot. And so you've got
Okay.
and it's in every epic movie
But
when somebody's going up a mountain to go to the castle that they don't belong in, or they're gonna get haunted by something. The drone goes up and it's this winding thing. I mean, Kubrick did it without a drone. I'm just
well,
saying.
that's the other thing I was going to bring up is that it's not necessarily that. I mean, these specific shots in those three movies, you can definitely tell are different than like what we're used to seeing. What old times would be helicopter shots and now are just drone shots. But these drone shots are much more specific, and I think that there's ways to use them properly, and I think there's ways to use them in a gimmicky manner. And I do think that Ambulance actually used them in some really innovative ways, whereas the Gray Man and Day Shift were just kind of, I don't know, it was just kind of like, hey, we have these drones here, let's make some shots. And that was a little rough. I think the one thing that I noticed, one of the big things I noticed with Ambulance is that it didn't seem like, I didn't get a feeling like there was a lot of CGI associated with those first person racing drone shots. Whereas with the Gray Man and also with Day Shift, it felt like they were trying to make impossible shots and decorate them with all kinds of other CGI for various reasons. Whereas with Ambulance, it's like, no, we're going to take this drone where you don't think we can take it, through this very small corridor and then out and underneath this car that's jumping over this thing. And it felt a lot more organic than I think the other ones felt like. But I think you're right. I think it is trendy. And I think it's also new, like brand new, like this year new. And I think that probably the first time somebody used a jib, to do a big sweeping shot, or, Touch of Evil, the beginning of Touch of Evil, where the camera starts like really high and then comes down, and the camera operator actually gets off of that jib dolly and then walks off and then keeps going with the shot. Like that kind of stuff, I'm sure at the time was kind of like, whoa, this is impossible, it's insane, like it could never happen. And then people probably really started utilizing it, and then we've gotten to the point now where it's like a jib shot or a dolly shot is not a big deal. A whip pan is not like an insane thing. But when whatever Eisenstein did it back in the 20s, it was crazy,
No, I
So
don't. I don't have a
yeah.
problem with people utilizing it, and I like the idea that you said that Ambulance, which I do want to see, is utilizing it in a different manner. We just started this trend, and people are already having to utilize it in a different manner. That says to me it's being overused. So,
Mm,
like I said, I don't have a problem with it. It's cool, but it just pulls me out depending on what they're doing.
yeah.
And if they're trying to do something different and unique, that's cool. I mean, I can't criticize anybody for trying to get the shot that they see in their mind's eye.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here comes a drone shot. It's like, here comes
You're like, it's coming.
here
We know it's
comes the
happening.
commercial with the drone shot with the FedEx truck going down the street. I mean,
Uh,
and it's fun, and I get it, but I'm
we
I
should
don't.
be able to push past it and actually use it. See, that's the thing. It should be an arrow in your quiver, as opposed to being the only thing that you're going to use to beat the audience with.
Once
So,
again,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, I say a whole bunch of stuff, and Josh says one sentence and concise and perfect. Yes, strike everything I said. I agree.
All right. Well, I mean, I watched other stuff. Have you? I'm assuming you've seen Midnight Run. I'd never seen it,
Yes. Oh yeah,
but
with Robert De
with Robert
Niro.
De
Yeah.
Niro and Charles Grodin. Yeah.
Funny. Funny.
Yeah, I did not realize, and it's, I mean, it's not like Robert De Niro had never been funny before. I mean, this is like a few years after King of Comedy. But when I looked at his IMDb, like at his kind of filmography from like, oh, I don't know, like the early '80s until Goodfellas, I was kind of like, oof. Well, actually, until Cape Fear, uh, it was a little bit rough, I think. And so this movie was kind of right in the middle of that, and I was kind of, I thought it was good. It made me wonder like how he got placed into position to make that movie, but and why they would have thought of him for that role. But it works. It works really well. And Charles Grodin, I don't know anything about him other than like he was the dad in Beethoven and the dad in Clifford. So that's my experience with Charles Grodin. So this is a little bit different, but yeah.
Well, apparently the story goes that when Robert De Niro did Awakenings with Penny Marshall, he was so funny on the set, and she's a natural born comedian, and Robin Williams, and that's the movie Robin Williams should have been nominated for the Oscar for. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Robert De Niro was nominated for Best Actor, and the movie was, but Penny Marshall was not, and neither was Robin Williams. But anyway, he was so funny on the set that she was letting people know Robert De Niro's funny, and they're like, Taxi Driver's funny? And there would be people wanting to cast him in a movie that was a comedy, and she would be like, cast him. I'm telling you, it's an untapped talent. And then all of the Meet the Fockers and all that stuff happened.
Yeah, that was afterwards. Analyze This.
Yeah.
That was, but see, that movie was made after Midnight Run was made too. So yes, you're right. It got nominated for Best Picture. De Niro got a Best Actor nomination, and Steven Zaillian got a nomination for screenplay, for adapted screenplay.
And like I said, one could discuss heavily that at the time, no one was ready to see Robin Williams as a serious actor. And I can't remember where that falls.
Didn't he do World According to Garp, which I also haven't seen?
Yes, but
and that was serious-ish, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean it's an Irving book. I can't remember the guy's first name. It's seriously topics. The topics are serious, but he does play more of the comedic side to that character, and also that's, I believe, Glenn Close's first nomination, and or maybe her first film, I'm not sure, and everybody was so blown away by her, and she was like a year younger than Robin Williams or something like that.
She was nominated, and so was John Lithgow.
Yes, that's John Lithgow's only nomination, I believe. Or was he nominated for Terms of Endearment too? He might have been. But Robin Williams still is buffoonish in that, like Jim Carrey in Truman Show. It's a serious role, but it has its buffoon quality that they could only, I don't know if that's a negative connotation, but you know what I'm talking about. The clownish character that they can play. And I believe that, I can't remember if Awakenings is before Dead Poets Society, but it was at a time when people were not looking at Robin Williams as, because I think his first nomination is Good Night Vietnam. And I can't remember.
Good Morning Vietnam.
Good Morning Vietnam. Thank you. Yeah. And I can't remember if that, as soon as I said it, I knew it was wrong. And I can't remember if that was before Awakenings. I can't remember where.
It's after.
It's after Awakenings?
No, Good Morning Vietnam I don't think is, but I know that Dead Poets Society's after Awakenings.
Right. And that's where it broke. That's where Dead Poets Society. Good Morning Vietnam was still the clownish, over the top thing that he does, and
it was half and half though.
Absolutely.
The first half of that movie is like, that's how they sold that movie, and then now that we've got you in the theater, here's some information for you.
Smack you right in the face.
Here's a story.
You thought you knew what this guy could do, and so that's why he was nominated, and that's why. But he still could not break free of that. Now, I believe he did it with Dead Poet Society, because that's the nomination. And he's still a little over the top. And then, of course, Good Will Hunting, which he won for. I think it's kind of a combination of all of those.
He's also nominated for Fisher King, the Terry Gilliam movie.
I love that movie.
He did a great job in that movie. So I'm going to close a couple of things. John Lithgow was nominated for Terms of Endearment. Glenn Close, I do not know if that was her first, but that was directed by George Roy Hill. The World According to Garp was directed by George Roy Hill, who's famous for like older films. I think he did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So yeah, that was her first nominee. World According. Good God.
Glenn and then she's
Close.
like 3 in a row. She's like,
holy cow! Yeah,
hold on, let me see if I can get it.
Okay.
World According to Garp.
Yes.
And The Big Chill.
Yes.
Then The Natural.
Yes.
All supporting
and then she
actors.
took a 3-year break, and Fatal Attraction was the next one.
And then Dangerous Liaison.
Yep.
Yeah.
2 in a row.
Yeah, and then it was a while after that she
It
was
was a while. 2012.
Yeah, is that Knobs?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then the wife,
2019.
the wife,
Yep.
and then I can't say it out loud. I'm not. Don't
You
make
know
me.
it.
Don't make me.
We all
say
know it. Okay,
I'm
we'll
not
move on.
saying it.
We'll move on. But
Look,
look
I
at
was
the
going like
makeup.
this. I was like pushing my nose up like I'm a snob.
Yeah, there you go. You can't say it. It's okay. It's okay. We know what she was doing. But yeah, so yeah, he did the Sting, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, George Roy Hill, man. Slapshot. He directed Slapshot. That's so cool.
Irving. John Irving is the
that's
writer.
correct.
Yeah.
John Irving was the writer. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love his work. I've read quite a few of his stuff. I was transfixed by the Hotel New Hampshire, the movie. I was transfixed by it. I couldn't stop thinking about it after I saw it the first time. And I was way too young to see that movie when I first saw it. But I was transfixed by it, and I read the book, and I was like, what? And then I realized World According to Garp was the same writer. So I rewatched that and read that. And he's also Cider House Rules, and he also wrote A Prayer for Owen Meaning, which is Simon Birch, the movie that Ashley Judd is in, which just it's a very shortened version of the book. And I just got transfixed by his characters, and his writing is very cinematic. So I'm not surprised. And I believe that John Irving won the Oscar for the screenplay for Cider House Rules. And
he wrote the screenplay too.
I think so.
The novel and the screenplay.
And
okay, yeah,
I think he won his
an
Oscar for that. Yeah, and so did Michael Caine.
He did. Yeah. So speaking of books, I did read a book over the last few months.
What?
I read Devil in the White City. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's a book that it's been around for 15 years or something, but and it was the rights for it were bought by Leonardo DiCaprio, and he was going to have Martin Scorsese direct him in a movie. But now it's being turned into, this was like years ago, a decade ago, but now it's being turned into a mini series on HBO Max, and DiCaprio and Scorsese are executive producing. Keanu Reeves is going to star as this architect who's in charge of coming up with the design for all of the buildings and coordinating the World's Fair in 1893. So in Chicago. And so the White City is Chicago. And so Devil in the White City is simultaneously, along with this architect who's coming up with all of these different ideas, there is another man living in Chicago whose name was H.H. Holmes, and he was, some people say, America's first serial killer. And so he was a doctor, and he killed multiple people, mostly young women. And the World's Fair was essentially like a magnet to him and to the city of Chicago. They got a bunch of specifically single young women to come to Chicago, and he was able to bring them into his huge building that he built specifically to be able to murder these women. So it'll be interesting to see how it gets put together. The way that the book is put together is it's like one chapter for one guy and one chapter for the other guy, and it kind of goes back and forth. So it'll be interesting. I don't see, like, this is why I'm not a writer, but I don't see how it's going to translate to a mini series. It'll be interesting to see how it translates. So I don't know, but Keanu Reeves is supposed to be playing the architect, and I don't know. I don't think they know who's supposed to be playing the serial killer, but yeah, it'll be interesting. But it was a good book, and I would recommend it as far as like a book is concerned. But I don't know how that's gonna translate, but we'll see what happens.
It's Scorsese. It'll be fine. It probably will bring Keanu Reeves his critical acclaim and win him an Emmy. So, and put him on the journey of being an Academy Award nominee and all the other stuff, because I don't think he's ever had a vehicle where he can break out of, I know Kung Fu. I don't think he's ever
just as long as it's not, I know him in period pieces, he's a little rough when it comes to like him and Dracula was just like
They love him though.
unconscionable.
They keep putting him in him. They love him. He
Yeah.
was in Dangerous Liaison with Glenn Close. He was in What
Huh.
You Do About Nothing, Kenneth Branagh's Shakespeare adaptation, and they love him. Love him. And he also did Hamlet on stage and did fairly well critically. So I just realized that I'm looking at myself for the first time and I'm realizing that my headpiece looks really awkward, but it's because of my earbud.
Yeah.
So it's not like
You're
I'm
good.
not,
You're good.
you know, like I don't
It's
know.
like a radio DJ, you know? Like you're like a radio DJ. It's
Singing
cool.
at the mic. Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's right.
It's good. That's a good take
All
on
right.
it.
Well, last thing I saw that I'll talk about is I rewatched Frances Ha, the Noah
I've never
Baumbach movie.
seen
with
it. I want
Greta
to see
Gerwig.
it.
You need to see it.
Really?
It's a I rewatched it because I was watching all of these like Technicolor film movies, like they're like a color film that were noirs. Like I watched multiple of those. What Frances Ha is it's a digital, it's made on digital, like so it's made using these kind of like, you know, small digital cameras, but it's done in black and white too. So they like, you know, desaturated it and color graded it in a certain way to make it look kind of grainy and stuff. So it's meant to look very kind of like lo-fi film, you know, shot at the hip type of thing. But it's done in a very freeing way for the filmmakers, and it's all about the writing and it's all about the character. And I think that, you know, Greta Gerwig, it will make you fall in love with Greta Gerwig. Just if you are not already.
Already done.
So
Done.
yeah. But and that's the other thing is like she's doing a Barbie movie. Like that's what she's doing. So you watch this movie and then you see what, so it makes me, you know, go like, I want to see this Barbie movie because I know it's not going to be, you know, Mattel stamped, you know, buy all these Barbies. We're going to pull out all the stops and show you all the things you can buy. I think it's not going to be subversive. It's definitely not going to be super subversive, but I think that it may have enough of a hook to stay interesting. So
I have faith. I have faith in, you know, one might go, that's interesting. It's a little superficial for somebody like her, but you know, she's gone from not Booksmart, I'm sorry, Lady Bird to Little Women to this. Yep. And her voice is strong and her thumbprint is huge, and I have faith. So whatever she's choosing to do, and those two as Barbie and Ken, they look ridiculous.
Who is it? It's
Ryan Gosling,
Margot Robbie,
and Ryan Gosling, and he set the internet on fire with his picture of Ken when they came out, and he has the little cut off jean jacket, and he's got the platinum blonde hair, and he's got the fake tan, and he looks like a doll. It's a little creepy. It's funny. Creepy. It's creepy. So whatever her intention is, I have faith, and I try not to judge a book by its cover, which is just, it comes natural to people to do that. And your thought is, what is this all about? Is she turning mainstream? But look what she's done so far. So I have faith in her. There's no doubt. I think it's going to be interesting. Whether or not it works or not, who knows?
Yeah. I know you kind of like said Booksmart, and that reminded me of Olivia Wilde. And have you seen the trailer for that new movie, Don't Worry, Darling?
Yes, and I don't know if I want to see it. I'm not.
You know what?
I can't do the Stepford wife thing. I can't do it.
But see, I know it's Stepford Wives, but like we were watching, we went to Bullet Train, and that trailer played before that, and then like Steph looked over at me and she was like, "That looks good," and I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." Because I mean, it's Florence Pugh. Like I'm gonna see it. Like that's just how it is. But
I'm being facetious. I will of course see it. I just the whole like controlling society storyline by sell. Chris Pine looks weird in it. The whole have you seen the screaming scene between him and Harry Styles? I don't think so. Have you seen this trailer where the glass wall comes towards her?
Yes. Yeah. See, that's
I'm out.
weird. Or like there's a scene where she like wraps her face in the saran wrap, and you're just like,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah. I have one
The
word.
part that
Nope.
got me. Oh,
Nope. I'm sure I'll see it. I just.
I have too many questions, because like the part that got me was like when she was like making breakfast or whatever, and she like crushed the egg and the egg was empty, and I'm like, okay, I like it. I like the whole vibe. Like, yeah, there's this like shady underbelly. The women don't know what's going on, and it's got a look too. Like it makes me wonder if there was some sort of like Olivia Wilde vision board where she was like, I want to have like this Corvette, and I want to have,
Oh, I'm sure.
this look, and I want to have, this feel, and I want this to be the, whatever it is. What do they call that? Modern, or, I can't remember what they call
Contemporary?
it. Like mid-century, I think. Is
Okay.
What they call
Yeah.
That kind of
Oh,
aesthetic.
the 50s thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 50s,
Yeah.
50s and early 60s. Yeah.
Once again, speaking of book smart, Olivia Wilde has proven to me that her voice is something I want to hear again. And it seems like a completely different genre that she's taken on. I just have this like thing. I saw the Stepford Wives, the original one, when I was like 10, and it just the whole idea of controlling people, which is obviously what they're trying to say you shouldn't be doing. It's just it I live it when I watch it. So, I'm like, it's hard. But that's not going to stop me from seeing it. There's nothing about it that appeals to me because I know how I'm going to feel about it. So she does that. She's done, I've done half her homework for her because I'm already like, ooh, and I'm sure that's why she picked the project, because that subject and that type of subject is daunting. So good for her.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. You got anything else?
Actually, I just want to announce to everybody, because there are a few TV shows that I have not seen, and every time I mention one or two of them, everybody flips out. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I have finally seen the first, second, and in the middle of the third season of Better Call Saul. So everybody, I'm going to follow it through to the new season. I can't wait, because the new season, the last season that just ended, I believe, is the last final season. And every single time I talk about Breaking Bad, it goes from Breaking Bad's amazing. Have you seen Better Call Saul? No. What? How could?
Yeah.
And something about it, I was rejecting it for such a long time, not for any other reason, just because of time frame and not being able to get to it. I don't think a person who likes Breaking Bad might not like Better Call Saul. That's the first thing I'll say. But if they give themselves over to it, because Vince Gilligan is a genius. There are two things that happened in the first season that I was like, that's brilliant. Have you seen the show?
I watched the first episode.
And that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
It's daunting. So like it got away from me, and now I'm where you were, where it's like, okay, so, but then there's all these things where it's like you and other people have said like, you need to watch The Leftovers. And it's like, okay, The Leftovers is what, 3 seasons? So I can do that. I feel like I can do that, but when you get into like 5 and 6 and 7 seasons, like there's no way I'm going to ever watch Game of Thrones. I'm just not going to. And I'm okay with that because it's just too much. Like I can't, I
think it's too much when it's not calling you. If it doesn't call to you in the first episode, if it doesn't call to you in the first episode and you want out, I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I'm not saying that you should experience Game of Thrones, because I was 3 seasons in and jumped out, and I cannot get back in. I cannot get back in. I will get back in sometime. I need to see the conclusion, and I've tried to keep away from it, and we're into a couple years of it ending at this point. So, I mean, it's all over the place. What kind of
I know
happens.
About certain things, which I'm not going to say, but I know about them. I don't know what they mean, but I know the words. So
So
whatever.
I would recommend Breaking Bad wholeheartedly. See Breaking Bad. See all of the seasons.
I have seen those. Yeah.
There's something about it. Now, I've heard that Better Call Saul gets better, but I don't think it's bad to begin with. They make some choices that, not to give anything away to anybody, but there's a scene in I think it's the first or second episode, I'm not sure, where two guys, two twins, get their legs broken. And the thing I like about the show is that this is not a likable character. He is not the best human being by any stretch of the imagination. He does not make good choices, but his heart and his integrity is in place. And he goes out to dinner and everybody's eating those long, thin breadsticks. Yeah. So he's trying to talk to this very attractive woman and he's like, yeah, so, and he's like, and he's having flashbacks to the scene of,
oh God, but
he's not really, because the breadsticks breaking is the actual thing that reminds you of the bone breaking. I thought that's genius. And I'll tell you about one other scene there. I don't even remember what came before or after it, but one character's in an office and the other character comes in to tell him something important. And you already know what the character's going to tell him to a degree. And he shuts the door and the camera comes back. Well, the camera's kind of locked onto the office window. The camera comes back just a little bit and there's a copier going, shh, 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 the whole entire scene. That's all you hear. You don't hear any of the dialogue. And then as the actor approaches the door, he says one line that lets you in what he told the character and keeps walking. And I thought, okay, that's inventive. That's cool. I like it. It's not what you're expecting it to be. And also, I've seen a couple of shows, American Horror Stories I'm watching right now. It's okay. But you and I have talked about Stranger Things season 4, but we have not talked about it on the podcast. And you said to me that, if you don't mind me repeating what you said to me that somewhere along the season you kind of stop feeling something for these characters.
Yeah, you kind of check out.
Yeah, you kind of like give up on them. Okay, they're in the underground. And then in the last
2 or
3 episodes, you are so engaged and heart-pounding stuff happens. And I think they did it really well. I was not a huge fan of season 3. I thought that they needed to find more purpose or better purpose for all of the characters, especially when you're going to introduce new characters. Season 4, I thought they did a great job at keeping all the storylines disconnected and connected at the same time, all the characters disconnected and connected at the same time, and then brought them together sort of, but then it all gelled. And I was like, okay, for a 4th season of kind of the same thing, over and over and over again, I thought they did well. I think the Duffer Brothers have something. Obviously, they have something. And I'm wondering what season 5's going to bring. And I was excited because I thought season 4 was the last season, but apparently not.
I think that they've got at least 1, maybe 2 more seasons.
Yeah, see, I thought along the way when they did the first 2 seasons, they said, no, we're only going to do 1 more season, or we're only going to do 2 more seasons or something. But it was supposed to end, if I remember correctly. And after season 4, I was glad to know it's not ended yet. I can't wait to see what happens next to those characters.
There's 1 more season left. 5th and final season is what they've been renewed for. So yeah,
and that's it.
It will be that. Yeah.
Well, they need to, because they're kind of pushing themselves against the wall with characters not having the demises that they should or the outcome that they should, and they're trying to keep everybody who's popular on the show, and that might be a mistake. But because there's a few things that happen in season 4, you're like, that's not the outcome that probably should have happened or would have happened. But I'm glad, because I like that character and I'm glad she or he is still around. But I thought they did well. Well.
No, for me, they definitely saved it in the last 3 episodes. And I think the Duffer Brothers wrote and directed the last 3 episodes. So it's hard to say. I mean, with any show, you have a writer's room and you have people that break the story of the episode. And then you have people that go off and write every single line of dialogue for that episode. And so, yes, there were other episodes in the season that other people, quote unquote, wrote. Now, the Duffer Brothers were involved in every single episode. I'm sure they had a big board with all of the string and all the connections and all that stuff. And they knew exactly what was going to happen in every episode. But so you can't say that like the Duffer Brothers saved their show by directing and writing the last 3 episodes, but at the same time, maybe they kind of stretched it out a little bit to make it a certain number of episodes. I don't know, but that was the only kind of gotcha for me in the way that they actually released it. See, and Steph and I watched it like way late. I was telling you a while ago is that we watched like the first like whatever it is 3 episodes or 4 episodes, and we just stopped for like 2 months, and it was just sitting there, and we just never got back to it until we did. And when we did, we couldn't stop ourselves. Like it was like every night we were like, can we watch another episode? He's like, oh, we gotta go to bed. It was that kind of a like, no, we have to be responsible. We have to go to bed because, this episode was like an hour and a half long, and it was like not even the finale. So it's that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's an ambitious thing to make a story like that, to make something that is moving forward and hopefully moving towards a specific end goal. And I just hope that they, like you said, have all of that in mind, and they know how they're going to land the plane next season. So I'm glad it's one more season.
I'll say one last thing. When it ends, it will be missed. And when it ends, I will be happy I was connected to it. And I think that's all you can ask,
it's cool.
I think you're exactly right. It's funny to be an adult and be responsible and know you have to get up at a certain time, but you really want to watch one more episode, but you can't. Yeah. So that's a sign of they've got something. And so if they land the plane, they land the plane. If they don't, I think I'll be okay, because I feel part of something, and I feel grateful to be part of something. Yeah, that sounds a little cheesy, but I do feel that way. I think it will be missed, and it will be something that will be talked about for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right. You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, you can check us out on the web at actorandengineer.com. You can go to facebook.com/actorandengineer. You can tweet us at actorengineer. And we are on YouTube. Just search for the Actor and the Engineer podcast. And we'll see you next time.